call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Rankin.
Here.
Vice Mayor Walter. Here. Councilmember Woolridge.
Here.
Councilmember Hawkins.
Here.
Effective after the date of posting, Councilmember Montano did put in his resignation, so for today he is still listed on the council agenda. Councilmember Galeen. Here. Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd ask you to stand for a moment of silence as we think about all the military personnel defending this country, the border security personnel, and let's keep in mind all the civil disobedience we've seen. Let's hope that we can bring back peace and harmony to the United States of America. After that, we will have our Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This is the first call to the public for public comment on issues within the jurisdiction of the Town Council. Council rules limit public comment to 3 minutes. Individual council members may respond to criticism made by those commenting, may ask staff to review a matter raised, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. However, members of the council shall not discuss or take action on any matter during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. This time I have one request, and that's Art Buckley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council people. My name is Art Buckley. I reside in Florence Gardens. The matter I wish to speak to is basically the Proposition 400, the home rule that was defeated in the primary election. And it was defeated narrowly, but it was defeated. And now the town is having to go to an expensive election in order to try to cure what happened. The point I would like to make is that while a lot of the staff and some of the council people have made an effort to explain to the public at large at least the importance of this vote, that the emphasis has seemed to me to be on the negative. That is to say, all the things that they are going to lose. And while those are true, that isn't often the way to convince people of change their mind. I think that now you have the ability to put a new person on the council that if you act soon enough and quickly enough, that that person, along with your help and guidance, could make a strong argument that going forward the council would be more cognizant of the public funds. The primary election and the subsequent election was a very, very close thing. And maybe I'm incorrect, but I draw the following parallel. There were 4,008 votes cast for council people in the finals. Out of that, almost 3,000 went to the 3 people who were most conservative on the approach. What's happened has happened. You're dealing with plans and situations that must go forward. You voted for them. And in order to make that work, you're going to have to make some hard decisions, I believe, even without the possibility that this will fail. And I personally think it's pretty close. So I urge you to appoint somebody quickly, whoever it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any other member of the audience have anything they'd like to say at this time? At call to the public. Seeing no movement, I'll close call to the public. Lisa?
Item 6, public hearings and presentations.
Lisa, you're going to speak into your mic.
Sorry, sir. Item 6, public hearings and presentations. Item 6A, public hearing on an application of Hitchens Associates Architect on behalf of Matthew Ritter and James and Janet Minato for a zone change on approximately .55 acres located on the northeast corner of 3rd Street and Phoenix Street from Neighborhood Multifamily Zoning District R2 to Highway Business Commercial Zoning District B2. And this will be the first reading of ordinance number 629-15, an ordinance of the Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving a zone change on .55 acres from Neighborhood Multifamily Residential R2 Zoning District to Highway Business Commercial B2 Zoning Districts, APN 200-47-0250. Mr. Eckhoff will be presenting to you tonight.
Mayor, Council, good evening. I don't think it's been a secret lately that Taco Bell is proposing to come to town, but we're officially now starting to talk about the process here and work on the zoning. And then actually Thursday night at the Planning and Zoning Commission, we have a design review request under consideration for the Taco Bell to go on these 3 parcels. So Taco Bell looked for a great location in town and really wanted to be on Highway 79. They were able to acquire, or tentatively acquire, 3 lots here. 2 of the front ones where the Happy Adobe was located, and then where Matt Ritter had his law office, were already zoned B2. They're in the general plan for commercial. They were zoned hard commercial. The back lot is in the general plan to be commercial, but it has a residential zoning on it. So that's the lot that you see the red square around. They've come in proposing to zone that lot from the residential designation to the commercial designation. Therefore, all 3 would be B2 commercial. They will merge the 3 lots together, and that's what it's going to take to fit the Taco Bell and the parking improvements and landscape and retention on that subject site. The zone change is consistent with the general plan. The general plan identifies that corridor there along the highway as highway mixed use. It realizes the potential of those lots along that corridor for just this type of use, for uses that'll be fast food restaurants, retail shops, the types of uses that are typically driven by high traffic counts. So this went to the Planning and Zoning Commission. They did recommend approval of it, and as I said, we have a design review request going. If we get everything moving here pretty quickly, we suspect that they may be starting construction on the site as soon as June. I'd be happy to address any questions tonight. It's just a public hearing. Action would be at the next meeting.
Does any member of the council have any questions of Mark?
Well, I've had a lot of people ask me, is it going to be a combination Taco Bell and Kentucky Fried Chicken?
That's been a very popular question, Member Hawkins, Mayor, Council. At this time, it looks like it is a 100% Taco Bell. It's not co-branded at this time, but maybe if we keep mentioning that, they may think of their options.
Well, no, but yeah, I was just curious because people have been asking me, and I said, hell, I don't know.
Because I've also seen them co-branded with Long John Silver's and Pizza Hut and other things.
Oh, Kentucky. I want Kentucky Fried too. John?
Yes, I have a question. I noticed that you sent out notices. You got no comments back from the notices, and what was the timing on that?
Councilmember Anderson, Mayor, Council, before this went to the Planning Commission, Gilbert did get a phone caller to expressing some concern about the Happy Adobe being removed. And we have not received anything in writing, and that phone caller didn't want to leave a name or a number or do anything to follow up. So there was concern about it. I know initially some folks were worried about what was going to happen to a Happy Adobe, but they have found a site to relocate to on Main, and they're also looking at an additional site. And I don't think that there has been any concerns expressed beyond that point.
Thank you.
Do you have anything, Tara? I got a couple of questions. Where is the access to it going to be located on 79? Or is it, I know that we have one access that went into the old Van Haren home. Have they been working with ADOT to get the proper access into there?
Mayor, Council, yes, they're working with ADOT, and their hope is that they will not be adding a new access point, because there already is an access point to the old law office. So I believe that they have the advantage in working with ADOT in that there is already an access point on the highway. They want to continue to utilize one driveway on 79, so it'll be only one access point on 79, and then the other access point will come out on 3rd Street. And I believe that they'll be entitled to that driveway, one, because there's an existing driveway, and two, because that parcel legally would have no other access other than to come from 79.
And the second comment I've had, for some of us that grew up here for a long time, that Maureen Gladys's house on the corner and Pete Van Haren's house where the law office was, the Van Haren home, they're not on the historical district, is that correct?
Mayor, Council, they're not in the historic district, and they're not individually recognized on any register either. And then, in addition to that, the owners have expressed no desire to do anything to put them on the register.
Okay. Okay, at this time I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone from the public that has any comment on this? Seeing no movement, we'll close the public hearing rather. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Item B, presentation on Central Arizona Regional Transit CART services. Mr. Knudsen will be presenting before you tonight.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here this evening to talk about CART, the Central Arizona Regional Transit services that we have between connecting Florence, Coolidge, CAC, and Casa Grande. I'll speak a little bit tonight about the background of CART, some of the things that the CART board is doing in the short term, long term, and then discuss some changes that we're looking at with regards to stops here in Florence. Some quick background to start us off. This is a program that started back in 2010 as a pilot project, and officially kicked off in June 2011. This is a partnership between Coolidge, CAC, Florence, and Pinal County. We're all equal contributors financially to the system, as well as a member from each of the entities sits on the CART board. Each entity, including the town of Florence, we contribute $23,558 per year for these services. The vast majority of these funds comes from the feds, and it is heavily subsidized. So we're paying a portion of the cost for operations, capital, things of that nature. We do solicit funding from the private sector, have been successful over the years, and we continue to look for partners that want to advertise on the buses themselves. And then those funds go towards the operation of the bus program. And then lastly, to point out, the City of Coolidge is the operator and the applicant for all federal funding. So they've been running their transit program for 25 years. And so that it was a nice partnership that for the rest of us to partner with Coolidge. We utilize their mechanics, their facilities, and drivers as part of the CART program. And of course, Jill Dusenberry is the Assistant City Manager for City of Coolidge. She's with us in the audience and is the administrator of the program for the City of Coolidge. This is the route map. I alluded that it goes from Florence to Casa Grande. You'll see that Florence, we're in the top right. And we have 5 stops in Florence, 1 stop in Coolidge. We go to CAC, and then we're looking at a few stops in Casa Grande, but the stops in Casa Grande as well as Florence are being evaluated at this time. But this is the existing route map of how the bus schedule serves today. See a few people looking at the screen there, so I'll pause for a second, but let me move on if it's okay. Buses run Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. Fares are $1 for the kids and $2 for the adults for one way. And then recently the CART board adopted a price break for those that want to purchase monthly passes. So it's a little cheaper to do that. The vast majority of the riders on the CART system itself right now are commuters and students, of the vast majority of those. So we have a lot of folks that travel to CAC. A lot of those have told us that they wouldn't otherwise be attending CAC without the transit program in place. And a vast majority of the riders are also commuters. Pinal County employees are a bulk of that. The service in place also provides opportunities for the disabled community and individuals without another means of transportation to get to and from where they need to go. I have about a 4-minute video I'd like to play if it's okay. It's a real good overview of what CART is. And I dare you not to dance.
What is the first thing that comes to mind when I say public transportation? Buses? Commuter trains? Subways? Here in Pinal County, our public transportation system is CART, which stands for Central Arizona Regional Transit. CART is a bus system that originates out of Coolidge and transports residents in between the city of Casa Grande and Florence. CART serves a wide range of Pinal County citizens, from Central Arizona College students to the mobility impaired, to those who ride to work, and families who are limited to one vehicle or no vehicles. One of the reasons why people find CART a good travel alternative is the fare structure. A one-way fare for an adult is only $2. A daily pass is $6.
I would have to pay one of my parents to take me out here, and it would take about 20-some bucks a week to get out here, and this is only probably $5 a week for me.
Funding the CART system is basically a simple formula. We have money contributed by governmental entities and some private partners here in Pinal County. This money unlocks a huge contribution from the federal government. The contributions from Pinal County and the surrounding entities equals 4% of the operating costs. The feds kick in the other 96%. Co-workers Braylon and Brenda both use CART to get to their jobs at CAC. Both admit the bus system has kept them gainfully employed.
We depend solely on it. As far as my work, without the CART, I wouldn't be able to come to work. It wouldn't be possible. Without work, then I wouldn't be able to afford my house.
There's no one that can give me a ride. I would have to try to get maybe on a cab, and I would not be able to afford, the rate of a cab to come to work. So without CART right now, it would almost be impossible for me to come to work at this point.
The economic downturn has hit everyone. Central Arizona College has seen its share of students drop out due to lack of tuition money. Some students who lack the money to stay in the dorm or own a car have found CART instrumental in keeping their academic hopes alive.
I have 2 full-time jobs. Before I started taking the bus, I was spending like $80 a week on gas just to come to and from, and now I spend like $8 a week. I would probably be doing online classes instead of coming to campus because the gas is just way too expensive. Or I probably wouldn't even be coming to college.
My experience with the bus, with the CART bus, has been a great experience. I would not be able to make it to CAC to school if it was not for that service. The drivers are exceptional. Their safety is awesome, and they do a great job getting us here safe and on time.
I use it probably about 5 or 6 times a week. It's my main and primary mode of transportation from Coolidge. Without it, I would struggle to get here to school. I'm a full-time student, so I have 5 classes. So it's very important that I get here on time.
Some of those who use CART on a regular basis are simply unable to operate a car for a variety of reasons. The bus system has allowed these people access to something as simple as shopping for groceries or something imperative like picking up prescription medications. What makes the bus so important?
Well, the only way I can get around is the wheelchair. And then the only way I can go to the hospital or like that, I have to, the only way I can get around.
I can start my future, have it founded as far as me being able to attend my classes and do the things I need to do to get my degree. And to me, that just means the world to me right now, because the way I see it, I have to make something of my life. I can't just be nobody on the streets. And CART transportation is helping me secure that. So I give them all props and thanks for that.
Thanks to monetary contributions from Pinal County, Coolidge, Florence, CAC, along with private partners, CART continues to grow and make a positive impact on the lives of those who want to better themselves and make Pinal County a place to live, work, and play.
So that just, I think that's probably a better way of communicating what CART's all about when you get a chance to see the riders and you know, put a face to the services that we provide. So thanks for that. Moving along, I want to talk about some of the short-term activities that CART is undergoing right now. We're in the process of acquiring a consultant through ADOT to create our 5-year plan. So we're very excited about that. We've been operating CART here for a few years, and with regards to stops or future services, this is going to be a great opportunity for us to see where CART is going to go in future years, or at least over the next 5 years. As part of the recent application submitted, we're requesting funds for some bus stop shelters. So rather than just the sign that you see out there today, we should hopefully have some shelters going up in the next 12 to 24 months. And also what we're doing, as I alluded to earlier, is we're looking at updating some stops in the Florence and Casa Grande areas. We'll focus, obviously, our discussion tonight on Florence. Here are all the stops that CART utilizes right now. These are stats that are taken from January 1 to March 31st of this year. So over a 3-month period, you can see an idea of the popularity of each of the stops. The ones that are highlighted in yellow are the stops here in Florence. And I did add up we have the on and then the off at each of the stops, and then I added those together for a total that gives us a pretty good idea of the popularity of each of those stops. You'll see right now we have 2 popular stops in Florence, and that's at the Florence County Complex over on Highway 79, and then the Pinal County Courthouse, or the 1891 complex. Other stops we have on the system right now is at the Senior Center, and then as well as CCA and the location of the old hospital on Adamsville. So with that, we are looking at a few changes, and this is a Florence map that is showing us a possibility of new stops here in Florence. So as you'll see, here's Highway 287 as you come into Florence. We're looking at coming on South Main Street over on Stewart Street. We feel this is appropriate because of the number of multifamily housing or the apartment complexes over in this area. taking a left on Highway 79, heading north, retaining the stop at the county courthouse, and then doing a sweep on Jason Lopez Circle, skipping the stop at CCA because it is underutilized. However, anybody at that location when the bus drives by, we'll stop and pick them up. And then we'll be utilizing the new North Florence Extension roadway that's connecting Main Street to Highway 79, and we'll be taking that over to this area where we stand here today. That stop will obviously accommodate Town Hall, it'll accommodate Heritage Park, as well as obviously the new Aquatic Center and new library facilities. And then as it travels, it didn't do it before, so we're kind of excited about seeing it travel down historic Main Street, making veering off and making a stop at the 1891 Courthouse Complex, County Complex, and then back on Main Street with another stop that we're still researching somewhere in this area along South Main, in the vicinity of the high school or the water kiosk in the area. So one of the other options that we've also looked at with these new stops that we're talking about is option 2. We're recommending, as town staff, we're recommending option 1. Option 2 here comes in 287 just like the previous one, but stays entirely on Main Street, comes around to the courthouse, and reverses that same route. Both of these will have stops at the new facilities and Town Hall at this location, and then come back up North Main Street with a similar stop that we talked about in the vicinity of the high school or the existing water kiosk that's out there. Some more of the CART goals, existing and long-term goals. The CART board has been careful at growing this service slowly and carefully. We want to make sure that we're not extending ourselves to the means of providing services too quickly in other surrounding areas. But we are maintaining a very close relationship with folks, in particular in the Santan Valley area, that have expressed a desire for services in that area. Our goal always is to provide convenient and feasible transportation services. If the route times are too long, if it's taken longer than an hour to get to Casa Grande, no one's going to jump on the bus and utilize that service. So it's got to be convenient and reasonably quick. And then the long-term goal of CART is to do something similar to what's occurring for the last 25 years in the city of Coolidge. What that would be a one stop in Casa Grande, one stop at CAC, one stop in Coolidge, one stop at Florence, and one stop at any future locations, whether that be Santan Valley or Maricopa, City of Maricopa, and those areas, so that we have inner city bus service that serves Florence with multiple stops, but then they're able to jump on that bus and travel to other areas throughout the region. We're not there yet, so we're taking things slowly, but that is the ultimate goal of CART. With that, again, Jill Dusenberry, Assistant City Manager with the City of Coolidge, is in the audience, and myself will be able to answer any questions or comments you have about the new possible route or services, anything of that nature.
Any member of the council have any questions, Jess?
I do. Now, just for the past few years, you and I have been in discussions, and honestly, I am disappointed that I don't see an expansion going into Florence Gardens as well as Anthem at Merrill Ranch, because both are located in the town of Florence. Now, have you explored the possibility of using other modes of transportation to include those communities, such as a van, to bring them downtown to get to the CART transportation?
Yeah, we do utilize the senior center van that does bring folks down from the Florence Gardens and Anthem areas to the senior center. They run that 5 days a week, and based on the availability of that service, then they're able to jump onto the CART route. With regards to stops in Florence Gardens or Anthem, whether it be the hospital or within the areas, It's a difficult task for us to do at this time unless the council wants to move forward with an intercity bus service, transit service. Because if we start adding route times that extend the route, say 10 minutes to Florence Gardens or 20 minutes up to Anthem, well, you got to double that because you have the round trip, and then you're looking at times between the hour time it takes now to get between Florence and Casa Grande. You're looking at hour and 20, hour and 40 minutes, based on where these stops are, and it's not something the riders have expressed a desire with regards to lengthening the route times. In previous years, we have got a hold of ADOT, and they've estimated that if the town of Florence wants to move forward with an intercity transit service, the cost of the town is roughly about $120,000, $130,000 per year for that. We've been in communication with the city of Coolidge. They would operate the system for us based on the funding levels that we were able to provide. But that would be the cost to have multiple stops in Florence with one stop that would connect to the rest of the system. So if and when the town wants to go down that road, that's when we can start looking at connecting multiple areas of Florence.
See, what's concerning is knowing the rate of the Title I students that attend our schools that also qualify for Promise for the Future through CAC. How many students in the north part of Florence are unable to pursue their college education because of their limited access to transportation that's granted to the core residents of the town of Florence?
Yeah, we've got a few emails over the last few years, emails, phone calls from folks up in the Santan Valley area that are looking for just that, to connect the students in that area with the CAC services in that area. It's something that we're looking very closely at. We're trying to identify the demand for those services in that area, but what we're also looking for a funding partner, whether that be the school district or the county or somebody else, to assist with the cost of extending the route in that area. What that would take to bring Santan Valley or into the fold would be 2 buses running at the same time. So you'd have a bus system that would travel from the Santan Valley area down to Florence, or possibly from the Santan Valley area down to Coolidge, and at the same time you'd have another bus that would be serving Florence to Casa Grande. Again, trying not to generate a route trip from Florence to Casa Grande that would be longer than an hour.
Now, I am aware there are grant sources out there, for example, such as Gila County, where we could look at purchasing a 14-passenger van, and somebody with a generic driver's license could be certified to facilitate that route. You do not need a special license.
If the council wishes, we can move forward with a system within the town that would be able to accommodate much of what you're talking about. But it's not just a flip of the switch. We can do it if the council wants to move forward on it, but there's a need for funds.
I would like to see that be brought forward, especially since all of the residents of the town of Florence are contributing to that $22,000.
Vice Mayor Walters, if that's something that the council wants to make direction on, we would need to do that in conjunction with our budget hearing, our budget meetings, to make sure that that is included at that time.
Bill?
How much did you say it would cost? 100 and what, thousand?
When we requested the information from ADOT a couple years back, at that time it was about $120,000.
Yeah, well, we need to sit,
Need to look at the budget on
yeah,
that.
right. That's.
I agree with you.
I agree that it would be a great, service to be able to do all that, but we're doing the best we can with what we have.
Thank you.
We have the new aquatic facility.
John, hang on just a minute, please. Okay, you go ahead. I'll wait. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we have the new aquatic center, and we have a tremendous population. Oasis, Santan Valley, Copper Basin, and that would be nice to have some kind of transportation service that families could easily get to our aquatic center.
Okay. You have something else? I think that what we need to take a look at is alternatives to taking a look at the bus as far as creating another thing. I think that a 14-passenger van, if we get the ridership we want, is not going to last us very long, because I'm too concerned about the residents of Anthem and the areas that we will be annexing, such as Oasis, Wild Horse. But it seems to me like we could do some coordination with the transportation that we have at this time in order to get to the people in those areas on our transportation that we have, to get them from Anthem and Florence Gardens in here to a central stop. Maybe if we change it here to Town Hall, we already have the vehicle, and make that a priority in the mornings and the afternoons to get people to and from. I think it could be a morning pickup and an afternoon drop-off, something like that. I think we need to research and find out if, I think another thing we need to do is find out of a survey to find out if the people really want it, or, to find out how we can, I'd hate to go out and spend $100,000 and $150,000 and we only have 2 or 3 people riding on a daily basis.
That's what I was going to suggest, a survey to see if people would actually use the service.
Yeah.
I think that would be the first step to take before you invest a lot of money into it.
Yeah, we did have a question in the previous citizen survey with regards to bus services and the need for those. The predominant demand was the town core, just based on demographics and need. There was some interest in Florence Gardens, but the senior van that does bring the seniors to and from Florence Gardens area down to the core, I think satisfies most of those. We do receive phone calls, emails from those folks up in Santan Valley. We get them here at Florence, and Jill receives them in Coolidge about a future expansion of the system. But the emails and phone calls, we don't get them from Florence Gardens, and we don't get them from the Anthem area at this time.
I think that we need to take a look at if we're doing that, take a look at our area that's in the town and the corporate limits for starting out and going slower up to that point of expanding up into the Santan Valley, into the areas we haven't annexed at this time.
Okay.
Anything else, Jess? Jess, thank you very much. And would you advise the deputy manager from Coolidge that she's got another 10 minutes on her visa, and then she has to go back to Coolidge? That's kind of a running joke between us. I get a permit to go into Coolidge, she gets one to come into Florence, so thank you very much for coming over. I appreciate it. Lisa.
Item C, proclamation declaring Florence's pride in those who have enlisted in the military and urging all citizens to continue to support our military service personnel and families of those who are serving in our armed forces. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. Supporting Florence's youth enlisting in the armed forces. Whereas men and women join the military in part because of the benefits military offers, but more importantly, they join the military and put their lives on the line so that the rest of us might live in safer and freer, more just world. And whereas William Caldwell, John Clark, Harmony English, Cameron Hall, Valentine Madrigal, and Emilio Salazar have demonstrated their courage and commitment to the freedom by enlisting in the Army. Each will take an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and is ready to stand and defend our great country with honor, courage, and commitment, so that we may all enjoy freedom afforded to us. And whereas our military personnel defend us in times of peace, times of war, and times of crisis, both natural and man-made, and render the highest service of any American can offer, and is a guardian of freedom and the American way of life. And whereas we profoundly grateful for this sacrifice that they have chosen to offer each of us, and because of his or her heroism, we are able to sleep soundly at night knowing that they are guarding our freedom. And whereas we must also remain committed to support our men and women who have grown up in the community and are part of our communal family in order to ensure that they have what they need in order to complete their missions in wherever they may be. We must also commit to support their families they leave behind and support them when they return home. Now therefore, Mayor Tom Rankins, by virtue and authority vested in him as mayor of the town of Florence, does hereby proclaim Florence's pride in those who have enlisted and urge all citizens to continue to support military service personnel and the family of those who are serving in our armed forces.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here tonight. I would like to thank my wife, Donna, not Barbara, but Donna, and Lisa and the school for getting this all put together. I've never heard of this happening anywhere in the United States before, where a community comes together to support their young people that are going into the service to help protect us and provide us with the services, our opportunity to do what we're doing here. Today's society is horrible. The world's security is bad, and we need to get it back together. And I think that's just a little bit this town can do by recognizing these graduating seniors that are going into our armed services to protect us. Sergeant, you going to be out there taking pictures? Is that what you're doing? This is the recruiter that got him here. and that's one of them, yeah. And take a look at the kids tonight. Take a look at their hair, because they ain't going to have any in a couple months. But the first one I'd like to call up kind of grew up down the street from me, John Clark. John, come up, please. We're going to call them up one at a time, so if any family members want to do a photo op, they're here, and then we'll take a group all together. John, on behalf of the Town Council of the Town of Florence, thank you very much for the service you're about to perform to our country. You have anything you want to say? Be good and careful and safe, son. Okay, Greg, take care of him. Let's see, who we got next? Harmony English. And that hair is going to be gone too. Harmony, on behalf of the Town Council of the Citizens of Florence, thank you very much for what you're beginning on your career. Keep safe, and remember that you got a community behind you. Thank you, Harmony. And let's see, who? Cameron Hall? Oh, boy, the barber's going to love you. And they have to shave that off his chin too, right? That's what I thought. Cameron, again, on behalf of the Town Council, myself, and the community of Florence, thank you very much for what you're planning on doing. Be safe out there. We'll keep Florence in mind, and we're here behind you, son. Thank you. Valentine Madrigal. Oh, well, is Barbara going to have fun with you too, son? Valentine, again, on behalf of the Town Council, myself, and the citizens of Florence, thank you for the service you're going to give us here. Keep safe, and remember you got a community behind you. Thank you very much again, sir. Lisa tells me how to say it, and I forget it. Emilio Salazar. Emilio, are you? All right. Emilio, on behalf of the Town Council, myself, and the citizens of Florence, thank you very much for the service you're about to provide to our country and our community. Remind you again that you got a whole community behind you, and congratulations, son. Now, if I can get them all back up here, all of you, come on back up here. Mark, you got any film in your camera today? Where do you like them at? Okay, come on up here, kid. Come on down with us. Oh. We're going to bring the whole council down. Sergeant, you definitely probably need that picture also. Yeah, Sarge, come on over here. This way, when you think about what you've done, blame it on him. Kids, Godspeed to you and keep you safe. Again, congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Be safe.
You know, I think I'm going to put out a challenge right now to every other community in the state of Arizona to do what we did here tonight, because I think all these kids going into the service deserve it. We're going to we'll take a 5-minute pause. If I don't break it. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Call the meeting back to order. Lisa.
Consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda unless a council member or a member of the public objects at the time the agenda item is called. Item A, approval of accepting the registered demands ending March 31st, 2015 in an amount of $3,693,094.17. Proclamation naming April 4th, 2015 as Arbor Day in the town of Florence, Arizona, and urging all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day, to support the efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, and to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Item C, proclamation naming the month of May as Foster Month in the town of Florence, Arizona, and urging the citizens to do something positive that will help change the lifetime for children and youth in foster care. Item D, resolution number 1507-15, approval of a resolution of the town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving the final plat for Merle Ranch Unit 53, requiring the provisions of infrastructure improvement assurance or withholding of recordation to secure the satisfactory construction, installation, and dedication of required improvements, establishing a deadline for required improvements to be completed, and authorizing the execution by the town manager of supporting documents. Item E, resolution number 1508-15, approval of a resolution of the town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving the final plat for Anthem at Merle Ranch Unit 36, requiring the provisions of infrastructure improvements, assurance, or withholding of the recordings to secure the satisfactory construction, installation, and dedication of required improvements, establishing a deadline for required improvements to be completed, and authorizing the execution by the town manager of supporting documents. Item F, resolution number 1509-15, approval of a resolution of the town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving the map of dedication for Constitution Ways Phase 2 and National Way, requiring the provisions of infrastructure improvements, assurance, or withholding the recordation to secure the satisfactory construction, installation, and dedication of required improvements, establishing a deadline for required improvements to be completed, and authorizing the execution by the town manager of supporting documents. Item G, resolution number 1510-15, approval of a resolution of the town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving the map of dedication for Spirit Loop Phase 4, requiring the provision of infrastructure improvements, assurances, or withholding the recordation to secure satisfactory construction, installation, and dedication of the required improvements, establishing a deadline for required improvements to be completed, and authorizing the execution by the town manager of supporting documents. Item H, authorization number, or resolution number 1511-15. Approval of resolution of the Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving the re-subdivision of lots 36 to 42, inclusion in Tract A, Anthem at Merle Ranch Phase 1A, Unit 15, requiring the provisions of infrastructure improvements assurances or withholding the recording to secure the satisfactory construction, installation, and dedication of required improvements, establishing a deadline for required improvements to be completed, and authorizing execution by the town manager of supporting documents. Item I, discussion, approval, disapproval of awarding. It should read, item I, awarding the contract to Blount Contracting, Inc. for South Wastewater Treatment Plant Lagoon closures in an amount not to exceed $99,500. Mayor and members of council, that is your consent agenda for this evening.
Does any member of the council want anything taken off the consent agenda? Does any member of the public have anything they'd like taken off the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed and read.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as read. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Item 8, new business. Item 8A, resolution number 1516-15, discussion, approval, disapproval of a resolution granting approval to the issuance of one or more series of the Industrial Development Authority of the Town of Florence, Inc. tax-exempt and/or tax education revenue bonds, Academy of Math and Science Project, Series 2015C, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $7,950,000 to finance the acquisition, construction, improvement, and equipping of educational facilities for the Academy of Mathematics and Science, Inc. and its affiliate, Math and Science Success Academy, Inc. Jennifer Evans will be presenting before council this evening.
Mayor Rankin, members of the council, the resolution before you this evening would grant approval to the Florence IDA to issue bonds on behalf of the Academy of Mathematics and Science. This is the third series of bonds that are coming before you. The first two series were approved at the last town council meeting, and the funding that's generated off of these bonds would go towards the rehabilitation and improvements on two school facilities in Tucson. And the Academy of Mathematics and Science operates 3 schools currently, 1 in Phoenix, 2 in Tucson, and then the previous bond issue was to help them open another charter school in the Phoenix area. So, but the agenda item before you tonight is for the bonds for 2 schools in Tucson. And the revenue that the IDA generates off of these bond issuances will be somewhere between $14,000 and $15,000 upon closure of the bonds. This evening we have Mr. Bill Wilder, who is the attorney for the IDA, who is available to answer any specific questions about the bonds.
Does any member of the council have any questions, Bill? We just want to see you come down, Bill. That's all we want. Don't need to talk to you. Is there any other, do you have any questions of any of the applicants?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 15-15.
Second.
We have a motion and second to adopt resolution 1516-15. Any other discussion?
I would like to just compliment the IDA board. They run a pretty efficient meeting. We were there, what, 15 minutes?
Okay. Okay, hearing no other discussion, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Got your bond, bud.
Item 8B, discussion.
Hang on, Lisa.
Oh,
Bill
sorry.
he's an attorney. He's got to say something.
Thank you, Mayor, and members of the council. As usual, it's a privilege to be down here. Good to see you all. And on behalf of the school group, they wish to thank you too.
Thanks, Bill.
Item 8B, discussion approval, disapproval of the fiscal year 2015-16 Employee Benefit Program renewal with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona Medical, Teladoc for 24/7 physical access benefits, Principal Finance Group for dental and life insurance, Vision Services Plan for vision insurance, EAP Preferred for Employee Assistance Program, AFLAC for supplemental insurance products, Infinisource for administrator of our Section 125 Flexible Benefit Account Plan, and authorization for the town manager to negotiate and enter into all agreements. Mr. Scott Barber will be presenting before you this evening. Mr. Barber?
Mayor Rankin, members of the council, staff is recommending this evening approval of the recommended employee benefit program renewal for the upcoming policy year. We went to the current benefit strategy last year, and we are extremely delighted to note that we received across the board no rate increase for the upcoming year. So we're just delighted with that, and it's very unusual to see all lines of coverage with no increase at all. So we thank Eric Johnson, our agent broker representative who works on our behalf, and also we had good loss experience this year, so that's a good thing. So everything is status quo for the coming year. I would add the caveat that in the event that the ballot measure does not pass on May the 19th, obviously staff and council will be reviewing a lot of things, and this will be one of those that will be looked at, including the cost-sharing arrangement that we currently have with our employees. But taking the positive approach and preparing for that, our recommendation is to approve the benefit program renewal as outlined in your staff report. I'll answer any questions you have.
Any member of the council have any questions? Scott? Get the motion.
I make a motion that we approve the fiscal year 2015-2016 employee benefit program with renewal with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona, Teladoc for the 24/7 physical access benefits, Principal Financial Group for dental and life insurance, Vision Services for Plan for Vision Insurance, EAP Preferred for Employee Association Program, AFLAC for supplemental insurance products, Infinisource to administer our Section 125 Flexible Benefit Plan.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Item C, discussion approval, disapproval of awarding a contract to Kimbrough Electric for the installation of a traffic signal at Fire Station Number 2 in an amount not to exceed $199,081.62. Before I turn this over to Mr. Mitchell, I do just want to note for the record that this project will not be completed in this fiscal year and will have carryover amount to the next fiscal year. Mitchell?
Mayor, members of the council, thank you. This, in fact, is a capital improvement project to install a signal at the Fire Station 2. We had 6 companies bid the project. Kimbrough Electric was the lowest and responsible bidder at $199,081.62. So it is our recommendation this evening that that contract with Kimbrough Electric be approved. With that, sir,
Any discussion, John?
Well, the funding for this is it going to be affected by the election? I mean, if we get the home rule or not?
This particular, Mr. Mitchell can explain this, but this particular item, because of the plan out time and the time required, that this will probably actually mostly be happening in next fiscal year. We're possibly looking at the expenditure, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mitchell, we're probably looking at expending out $30,000 in this fiscal year for the purchase of the poles. Is that correct, Mr. Mitchell?
that's correct. It might be slightly higher than that.
And then the remainder of it will go into next fiscal years, which will affect our either budget scenario. It will have to be added into next fiscal year. So, Mr. Farina, would you like to add something? I saw my notes button.
Mayor and council, this item is, as Mr. Mitchell was saying, if it does extend and needs to be carried forward, in other words, the project does not get completed in this fiscal year and it has to be carried forward into the following fiscal year, that will count against our expenditure limitation. However, and in our scenarios that we've discussed and as we've talked about, we're putting together the information for town council and the public is that no carry forwards can be a part of the upcoming budgets because of the expenditure limitation. However, state constitution also allows for revenues that have not been spent in prior years to be carried forward as exempt revenue. So, for example, interest is an excludable revenue from the state limitation expenditures. And, doing an analysis over past years, the town can carry over revenues that are exempt, thereby exempting any projects such as this.
Mayor, members of council, the only reason why I bring this up in the opening segment is so that you are aware of any project that does bleed over into the next fiscal year. When you're deciding to do these projects, we need to make it aware that this will affect our next fiscal year's budget.
Any other question? No. Hearing none, need a motion?
I'll make a motion to award a contract to Kimbrell Electric for installation of a traffic sign at Fire Station Number 2 in an amount not to exceed $199,081.62.
A second.
We have a motion second to award a contract to Kimbrell Electric for installation of a traffic signal at Fire Station Number 2 in an amount not to exceed $199,081.62. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item D, discussion approval, disapproval of accepting Councilmember Montano's resignation from the town council.
Wow. Who wants to make it?
I'll make a motion to accept, to approve acceptance of Councilmember Montano's resignation from the town council.
I'll
As
second.
well as to thank him for the service that he has provided to the town.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the acceptance of Councilmember Montano's resignation from town council with the regrets and thanking him for the service he has given to the citizens of Florence. Roll call.
Mayor, would you like to add into the record the reason why?
Yeah, it had to do with Ruben's employment. He went to work for the state of Arizona, who, under the Hatch Act, state employees cannot be members of councils or boards if they're compensated in salary or given monetary compensation. They can sit on school boards that are non-funded. Ruben did everything he could. He had the attorneys for the Department of Corrections and everything looking into it, but it came down to that's what the Hatch Act requires. And so he did submit it. He didn't want to, but he had to. He had to have a job.
Thank you. Oh, your roll call vote. Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Deline?
Yes.
Councilmember Hawkins?
Aye.
Councilmember Woolridge?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Walter?
Aye.
Mayor Rankin?
With regrets, yes.
Motion is carried. Item E, discussion approval, disapproval of establishing criteria and setting a timeline for filing a vacant council seat.
Okay, this is the time we have to decide how we're going to replace Ruben. Does anybody have any suggestions they'd like to bring forward?
I would like to suggest that we open it to anyone who's interested and then conduct interviews. That would be my suggestion. Oh, you can't hear me? I'm sorry. I would like to suggest that we open it, make the seat available for anyone who's interested in applying and then conduct interviews.
I agree.
As long as they have to live in the town limits, that's one thing.
You definitely have to
Well,
meet
no,
the
but I've
criteria.
had people approach me that don't.
Oh,
I was
okay.
like, no. So I'm just throwing that out.
I just thought that would just,
Well, some people apparently,
Okay. You agree with that? Okay.
I agree.
Well, I agree as well. I also just want to go on record, when I first knew that Unfortunately, Councilmember Ruben Montano was resigning. I thought, we had just had an election. We need to look at who is running. We also need to look at, who's on our boards and commissions, as well as who's active and involved. So with that, I agree.
I would like to add to that we do the application process, that we do the interviews, and we make the decision with the interviews and the decisions are made in public at an open council meeting, at a regular scheduled council meeting or a special council meeting, depending on how. I would like the applications to be able to go out tomorrow, or
When you say applications, are you
I think
requesting?
a letter of interest would be, they can submit a letter of interest
And resume?
and a resume if,
Page 3 includes a new elected official seat. Did you
What?
see? It includes like an advertisement. Is that what council wants to go
Yeah,
with?
could we put an ad in the paper or something?
And if so, I need a date that you would like to insert as to when they're due to my office by.
well, if we can get it in the paper, if you get an ad, Mark, so we can get it in the paper this week. Mark, do you think you can get it in this week? And then you want to run it for a week or 2 weeks? Pleasure of the council.
1 week.
I think one
One
week
week.
is sufficient.
Okay,
Something
1 week
word is
to run
already
the
out.
ad. So if the paper comes out this Wednesday or Thursday, then how long do you want to let the extension go to our application process for?
At our next meeting.
At our next meeting?
Mhm.
Okay.
Question.
Now, go ahead, John.
People who have already submitted emails or letters, is that considered an application, or will this be something?
The advertisement will say that are submitted to the clerk, so I would like those to be able to come into my office and be stamped on them, so I know the date that they're effective. So I would have preferred them to come in after this moment so that I can keep track of them.
Okay.
So they would just have to resubmit them to me as of tomorrow.
Okay.
Tell your deadline.
And I agree with that. I think that's a good deal, so we have it all stamped.
That's good. I just want to make.
So let's set a calendar, let's try to set a calendar. We're going to go out with the advertisement Wednesday or Thursday in the paper.
Okay, Wednesday or Thursday, this Thursday,
And I think it should go on our website also.
May 7th, got it.
Put that out, and then,
Would you like me to send letters to all board and commission members and all people who?
no, I think it's you can, I don't think we need to do that. If it's on our website
Okay,
and in the paper, and I think I would send it out to those that have applied, that you're aware of, that have applied since Ruben, people found out Ruben was leaving. Send it out to those people so they can come back in and file an original with you. So we've got Wednesday, it'll come out in the paper, then a week from Wednesday, and then we go to the regular council meeting. Do you want to do the interviews and the appointment at the next regular council meeting, or do you want to have a special meeting the week after that to go over and do the applications and the interviews?
Why don't we have the interviews, have a break, and then come back, and if we can make a announcement that evening, I feel that would be best.
Following meeting? In other words,
That evening.
On the
the
18th.
same evening?
The 18th.
So
yeah.
interview on the 18th and make the appointment on the 18th.
My preference would be to go ahead and do the interviews, and then hold off to the first meeting in June, do the appointment.
Or to the next meeting? Do the appointment on the following meeting?
Do the interviews on the 18th and do the appointment. That gives us 2 weeks
Suggested it be
to,
effective in June.
Yeah, I think that's the
June
best.
1st. Yeah.
I think that would give us enough time to make the decision, and if we needed to ask any questions around the community or of the candidates themselves, then we have the opportunity to do follow-up. So that gives us a 2-week period. So by the first meeting in June is the what?
June 1st.
June 1st? That's when we make the decision. Is everybody in agreement with that?
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
And then can we also add to the announcement that's going to go out to have the cover letter and resume, just so we are aware of the background and experience, because that's not listed in
Okay,
the
I can
announcement.
change that.
Let's just don't make it too complicated where everybody runs off and doesn't nobody apply.
I know, it's like resumes and all that. Letter of interest.
So all of those that you're interested in that are sitting in the audience tonight, there's a few of them out there that I know are. You here are running what we're going to be doing, so that's,
Okay, do we need to vote on this?
I don't think we need to, that's just direction to,
Okay.
do you need action on that, Lisa?
I have your direction.
Oh, okay.
Just give her direction.
You okay with that? You want him to act? Cliff would prefer you make a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we, what we've discussed and direction you've been giving, that we move forward on that.
I like that, Bill, that's good.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a first and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carried. Bill.
Well, I'm just,
Mayor, members of council, you have your manager's report and your department reports here. Your manager was unable to be at tonight's meeting, but your report is in the packet. If you have any questions, your staff would be happy to answer them at this time.
Does any member of the council have any questions of the department heads that are present with us tonight? Do you have any, you can get them with them during the week? Okay, with that, we go call to the public. It's a second call to the public for those who would like to speak in front of the council tonight. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say? Come up to the podium. You're under the 3-minute limit.
Mayor, Council, my name is Bruce Finstermaker, 3625 North Princeton Court in Florence. In regards to the transportation, the CART presentation, I've been working on a project for about 6 months. Right now, the cost to Scottsdale is about $300,000, and they're doing away with their trams. They do pickups about every 15 minutes. They go to the casinos. They go to all the major spots. Our estimated cost is $100,000, and that may pick up 3 times a day. And we should also look at the cost per mile versus just an overall budget, I guess. We could probably get the trolley buses. It would look a lot better than a bus. They would have the, I don't know, like oak seating and stuff, either along the side perimeter or just like a regular bus and stuff. Look a lot nicer. We can pick them up for about $90,000. We can lease them. They would have the air conditioning. They'd have the wheelchair lifts. They can also, other ones that squat down to help people come in. We've got to bring in people from north of us and also south of us. And if we do get the annexation of Magic Ranch, we've got to bring those people down here, or we've got a $13 million library and aquatic center that will not be at capacity. I'd like to work with Jess. I'll be back hopefully in June, and I'd like to work with him on this thing and sit on some of the meetings. And I think we could really make a neat deal about this. I was concerned also about, I wouldn't mind riding the trolley from Anthem down into town. I can go to the Capelli Moon and ride the bus back. But anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Come forward, sir. He's going to Hawaii for the summer.
I wish. My name's Fred Redmond, and I live at Oasis at Magic Ranch. And I know we're not part of Florence yet, but I also wanted to talk about CART, because we have homeowners right now that have been trying to get into Anthem, for instance, to try to have some services. But I understand why we can't do that at this time. The HOA there and Pulte have not wanted to have outside people. But when we talk about Florence, and I do know that you mentioned it a little bit up on the council, that when we talk about Florence, we need to talk about that area, because I think we're going to be annexed. I really am hoping for that. And when I was president of our HOA, I had many homeowners asking about how do we get our kids some activities and whatever, and they're a long ways away. Even if we had gotten permission to go to Anthem, there's a lot of people in my community that don't even have the ability to get to Anthem. So when we're talking about the CART system, whatever, it would seem feasible to keep us in mind, and I think that's part of what I did here. One of the other ideas, though, we have a lot of homeowners that are from the Midwest and Canada and whatever, the winter visitors. But most of those winter visitors don't have kids. So one of the things I want to throw out is if I look at the demographics of my area, where we're going to have 1,225 homes in just my area by probably the end of this year or middle of next year, the majority of the people that stay here year-round are the ones that have the kids. So if we were looking at a CART system, you know, and you're thinking about people not being here, so we might reduce the level of service and whatever, my group, though, pretty much is going to be the same with the kids and what have you, and not really affected by the winter folks. And I guess the last thing, and I apologize, I didn't have any notes because I didn't know this was coming up, but I would like to throw out about a distribution center, something like a hub. And again, I haven't given any thought to it from planning or whatever. What I mean by that is I've been trying to get people to have a grocery store down here, something from Safeway or somewhere else. If we had a bus service that went up through to my area up there in Oasis, but also stopped at Florence Gardens or whatever back here, but dropped off maybe to a central hub of some sort, which from there they would go to Coolidge and whatever. I don't know. There's lots of opportunities to think about and plan, and I was just wanted to throw those things out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other public comment? Call to the council, Becky.
I just want to also say how much I appreciated Ruben Montano being on our council. He was very astute, very well spoken, always was very conscientious about his decisions, and I'm going to miss him on the council.
Bill?
I go along with that. Yep, those are my feelings also.
Ditto, I'll pass.
John?
Well, you know, I think Ruben was almost a perfect councilman. He had such good experience, background, education, being, you know, a teacher, being in law enforcement, being raised here in our town, and being part of the town. We couldn't have asked for a more qualified councilman. And one other thing I would like to point out about the transportation, I've been down to the senior citizen community center several times, and one of the questions I always get asked is, when are we going to get a grocery store in downtown, right? Well, if we had transportation to get people from downtown up to Safeway, that would resolve part of that issue. So I'd like to see us pursue that.
Tara?
And to pony off of what you just said, that would also keep our tax base within our own community of the town of Florence if people are shopping locally. I also would like to thank Ruben for his service. I had the privilege of running with him in 2012. I also worked with him at the school, and we will miss him on council, but we will still see each other in the community.
A couple things. Tara, thank you very much for attending the Arbor Day and reading the proclamation, for having the proclamation, my proclamation read. I appreciate that. I was on another business. On item C on your consent agenda tonight was May is Foster Month in the town of Florence. I sat on the Foster Care Review Board Committee, and my wife has also sat on that at one time or another. The need for foster families out there is tremendous, good foster families. There's a lot of kids that need the structure of a home life that the foster family program presents. And I would urge all the citizens that can and that have the desire to look and to find out more about becoming foster parents. Give these kids a chance. That's all they're asking for. The majority of the kids, all they're doing is asking for a chance. And this is one way through the foster care program. that it can be done. But don't let them fail if we have the opportunity to provide them the services that they desire. Need a motion?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.